That would have been terrible. All right. So success is goals, all else is commentary. And so when you've got clear goals, what happens is you've got smooth water to sail in and you've got wind in your sails. You've got the firepower to get you where you want to go. Here's a Harvard study. This was in 1979. It was an interview of graduating students. 84% had no specific goals. 13% had goals, but they weren't written down. And 3% had clear written goals and plans to accomplish them. So the results of this study was when they went back and followed up, the 13% who had goals but hadn't written those down were earning on average twice as much as the 84% who had no goals at all. And then even more staggering was that the 3% who had clear written goals were earning on average 10 times as much as the other 97% put together. So having these things written down, having them in front of you, super, super critical. Here in my office, I have multiple whiteboards right behind my computer with goals in front of me. Every time I look up, I'm seeing what my numbers are, what my goals are that I'm trying to hit. So there's some real power to that. So here's the goal setting framework we're going to work with. You need to have written goals and plans. You need to set a minimum 1-year goal, quarterly goals, monthly goals, and you've got to have a stopping point at the beginning of each new year and the end of each quarter to reflect on how you did, where are you at, what adjustments do you need to make going forward. And so here's where I want you to start in your notes. Just write down really quickly for 2024, what is your revenue target? And then break that down. How much is that monthly? How many calls is that going to require? And then what is your average transaction value? So take just a couple minutes, fill out that information because that's what we're going to work with. And then just we'll give you an example here what we're looking for. If your revenue target is 1.5 million, that's 125,000 per month in revenue. If your average transaction value is $1,000 to you over the year, how many transactions is that going to require for you? That's going to require 125,000, or excuse me, 125 transactions per month. So that's our baseline number we're going to work off of. Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat as you've got your numbers written down. Just so I can make sure we're all together. Yeah, we'll give it just a couple seconds here. Okay, perfect. So next thing we need to determine is how many leads are you going to need to hit those numbers you just wrote down. So the first question we need to answer to get to this answer is, what is your average conversion rate from lead to application? So are you converting at 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%? What's your conversion number from lead to application? So if you get 100 leads in today, how many applications are you going to be submitting out of those 100? And then what we need to do is we need to divide our lead target by our conversion rate. So I'll give you an example here. If your average conversion rate from caller to new application is 30%, then we need to multiply the call target by the conversion rate. So we have 308 calls. We're closing at a 30% closing rate. We need 92 applications a month to keep us on That'll get us 92 applications per month. So if we need to go higher than that, if we're needing more applications per month, then we need to raise our call volume or we need to raise our closing percentage. So type 1 in the chat if that makes sense. And then just so I've got a kind of a good perspective, if you would in the chat, just type down what's the closing rate in your office? Where would you put that at roughly? And don't be shy. We've seen everything as low as 2% on up. So there's no wrong answer here. If you find that it's a low conversion rate, then obviously that's a place we can work on some improvement. All right, let's jump ahead here. So you've got the worksheet that I was telling you about. And on the worksheet, you can download it from this URL. Once you get there, click File, click Make a Copy, and it's going to allow you to change up these numbers. But here's essentially the way it's going to work. The one we've got pictured here is actually one that we modified for different verticals, so some of the language is a little different. But we have one specifically for you as an insurance agent on that worksheet. Essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to put in your revenue goal. It's going to give you your monthly revenue target. If we put in your average ticket value, it's going to tell you, how many calls you're going to need to hit that, your conversion rate, number of leads needed, average cost per lead, etc. So I'm going to show this to you live here real quick. We'll actually run a number here. So let's make a copy. And I'll walk you through this worksheet because this will be helpful to you. So if your revenue goal this year is $700,000, that means your monthly revenue target's $58,333. If your average application value on closed business is $800, that means you're going to need 73 applications every month to hit your monthly goal. If your average conversion rate from caller or lead to closed business is 15%, then you're going to need 486 leads every month to hit that number. If your average cost per lead generated is X amount of dollars, so this one we've got set high. Let's just bring this down to 25. Then you can figure out what your budget's going to be to hit that. It's going to be $12,000 in lead budget to hit that number of leads if you're paying for those. So what this will do is it will kind of show you where you need to be ad spend wise based on all of those leads if you were paying for them. Now, we also realize you're going to have referrals, you're going to have repeat customers, you're going to have your organic traffic. So not all of this is going to be leads that you pay for, but what you're going to want to figure out is, out of my referrals, my repeat business, and my organic traffic, how many leads am I generating every month? And then what kind of deficit is that leaving me? And then you can figure out your ad budget from there. Just go ahead and type a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. Yeah, perfect. Now you've got a couple of other things on this worksheet. I'm just going to walk you through them. We're not going to spend time on this. You can play with this on your time. You've got budget allocations, and so we've given you some recommended budget allocations. Now, what's interesting, the SBA actually recommends that you spend 5 to 10% of your revenue on marketing. We're going to go conservative and put it at 3%. So if you're shooting for 700,000 in revenue this year, then your total marketing budget needs to be 21,000. That's going to be an average monthly budget for marketing of $1,750. And then we give you a breakdown that 65% of that should be online marketing, 20% should be offline, 15% for your repeat business. And then that'll break out the numbers for you as well. Same thing with this spreadsheet. You can change up your numbers and it will change up everything for you and give you brand new numbers to work off of. And then what percentages you're going to spend in the different months and what that allocation is going to look like. We've got average cost per lead by lead source. What can you expect to pay per lead based on which lead source you're using? A marketing calendar that you can put in here. So during each month, what are you going to focus on your email, on your social, on your search engine? And then if you've got any special offers that you're going to mail out to your list each month, you can put those in the worksheet as well. So hopefully you'll find that helpful to you. Just a little added bonus for you to work off of on that sheet. Any questions so far? All right, let's move on. Got to update that slide. So what is your goal for 2024? How many leads are you going to need monthly to get to that goal? That's the real question we want to ask out of this last section and get clear on. What's the goal? How many leads does it take to get there? And if you know your numbers, you'll already know what your organic and your referral and your repeat lead flow looks like. So it'll help you figure out your paid lead flow going forward. Now, here's the second piece of our discussion today is we want to get down to the fundamentals. Who are we marketing to? What's our message? And then what's the best media to get in front of those individuals? And so when we talk about this, one of the things you may want to consider is, do you need to update your marketing message? Is it resonating with the target audience? Does it set you apart? Is it a differentiator? Or are you just another person who sells the same stuff as everybody else? So we have to answer the question, what makes you so special? But we have to do it in such a way that it resonates with your ideal customer. And so that's our next question is, who is your ideal customer? And again, what's interesting is when I talk with agents around the country, I meet some who basically would tell me if they can fog a mirror and have a pulse, they're their ideal customer. But that's not really how we build a business. Our ideal customer is going to meet some specific criteria because they're the person that's most likely to do business with us and stay with us for the long term. And so what we call that is a customer avatar. And so in your workbook, you've got a little sheet like this where we're going to look at pains and frustrations, goals and desires, fears and implications, dreams and aspirations of your ideal customer. And so I've given you just kind of a mock-up of an ideal customer, what a profile might look like. Homeowner, 35 years of age, typically female, occasionally male, married with 2 to 3 kids, head of household, income 65,000 or above, family oriented, reliable, easily frustrated, likes to please people, expects the same in return. They like gardening, crafts, and arts. They live in the suburbs. They're up in an upper middle class neighborhood, and they take an interest in their community. Their pains and frustrations. They're overwhelmed by the demands on their time. They're always shuttling kids around. They're always at school events. They never have time to themselves. They don't feel valued. They'd like more balance in their life. They're too busy to deal with things. They're worried that they're one crisis away from disaster. Their fears and implications. They're afraid of being ripped off or overcharged. They're afraid of paying too much when they could have gotten it cheaper elsewhere. They're afraid of having increased liability exposure. They're concerned about career stability. They want to make sure their children have the best opportunities. They're afraid of hidden charges and fees on their bill. And then their goals and desires is they want to have a beautiful home. They want to take care of their family, more income, money, wealth, live in a nicer, more luxurious house, drive a nicer car, kids healthy, happy, and successful, spend more time with their family, travel and have more fun with their family. They want the respect and approval of friends, family, and relatives. And most of all, they want peace of mind. So we put all that together, we've got a profile of who it is we're going to speak to. And this is important because if we can see through Joe Jones's eyes, then we're going to also be able to sell what Joe Jones buys because we're going to begin to speak Joe's language. And so part of what we want to do is begin to see the world like our target customer so that we begin to talk their talk and we begin to resonate with them in a way that nobody else does. And so that's where we get into crafting our message. And so here's a little work for you. Number one, why should someone choose to do business with you versus the competition? I'd like you to come up with 3 things. And then once you've got those 3 things, put a 1 in the chat just so I know you've got that one done. All right, Paul, you were first out of the gate. Give me one reason why somebody should do business with you instead of your competition.
Well, because I'm not the big guy. I care a lot more about you than the bigger guy does. I try harder.
Okay, perfect. Garris, how about you?
I would say experience, professionalism.
Okay. Awesome. Allie, how about you?
I'm a certified financial planner for fiduciary, so I bring a lot more to the table than other insurance agents bring.
Okay.
I bring a lot of planning tools as well, and clients have access to their planning strategy live through the tool that I use.
Okay.
And I implement more advanced strategies when it comes to retirement planning
Okay.
than a
Perfect.
typical insurance agent can.
Okay. Great answers. Here's something I do want you to think about. Sometimes this question is a stumper for agents. And you get answers like, well, I offer this and this and this and this and this. And the thing we've got to watch is so do a lot of other people. So if the only thing that makes you unique is you offer these products and services, you're really not unique. What makes you unique is your own experiences, insights, people you've interacted with, the customers you've served, your history. Uh, Paul, who's on the call, Paul, you're coming into year 42, right? On your agency?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Paul's been with his company 42 years. His father was an agent for the same company. So that's one of those unique perspective things. I've seen up markets, down markets. I've been around. I've seen rates go up and down. I've seen companies come and go. So perspective, it gives him a leg up over his competition. And so those are the things I want you to think about. Not just what products or services you offer or tools you use. All those can be important, but more of it is why you? Why are you the expert? What makes you so much more valuable than anybody else who's your competition? And especially if you're captive, this becomes super critical because you all have the same banner over your front door. And so you've got to figure out what makes you unique versus the other agent down the street. So that brings us to the second question here. Let's work on that one. What benefits do you offer your target customer that they're going to resonate with? So if you know who your target customer is, what are the benefits you offer they're going to resonate with? And when you got that one, put a 1 in the chat. And we'll give that one a couple more seconds and then we'll roll on here. All right. So you figured out who your avatar is. You figured out what your unique selling proposition is. Once you have those two things, it's pretty easy to figure out what is it that that customer needs to hear, or what is it they need to see that's going to give them a good emotional feeling about doing business with you. Because you have to remember, people make buying decisions based on emotion first, and then they back it up with logic. And so if we're just always coming at them with the logic, we're gonna disconnect with that customer. What we've got to hit is those felt needs that we uncover when we figure out who they are. So in the sample I gave you, there's two things that I threw in there that would be things I would want to cue in on. They feel like they're one disaster away from a crisis. And the second one is they just want peace of mind. And so if I can start to speak that language and I can show them the benefits of working with me and working with my team to address those two concerns, then I'm that much further ahead in the game over my competition. So when we talk about messaging that works, personalized service is a big one. It's custom tailored towards you. It's not cookie cutter. We look at you as the individual. We look at your household. You are unique. We're going to treat you that way. Straightforward pricing or upfront pricing or satisfaction guaranteed with our service. And then here's the big one, a trustworthy local advisor or expert. When you think about experts, we like to name names. Who's your doctor? It's Dr. Smith. Who's your electrician? It's Bob down here at McBride Electric. You want to be that expert. Who's your financial expert? It's Allie. Who's your insurance expert? It's Paul. Who do you go to if you got questions about Medicare? You go to Paul. So there's this expertise piece you just can't get away from it. It's so critical, especially in our environment right now where the insurance markets really are, a lot of movement going on. And so your expertise is one of those things that's going to set you apart. And it's up to you to make the case. Fast turnaround on policy applications, money saving offers, dedicated customer managers, clean cut professional staff, great service guaranteed no matter what. You make the case as to why what makes you the best, but that's got to be front and center in your marketing. Those of you that work with us, we've been pushing you hard and heavy. Short form videos right now are the big driver in social media. It's a great place to make the case. People get to see you. You can talk about what makes you better. It's not just all product, service. It's you the expert. So here's the question for you, closing out this section. What's your message? What is it that, if we were to sum it up in a sentence or two, what is it you're trying to say to your target audience? And once you got that written down, put a 1 in the chat so I know where you're at. All right, we'll give it about 30 more seconds here. What's your core message to your audience? All right, moving on. So now let's talk about the media side. So we've got our market, who's it we're targeting. We've got our message. What are we going to say to them? Now it's how do we get in front of them? What methods do we want to deploy? What's going to get us there best? So the first thing we want to look at is we want to make sure your website converts. So the hub of your whole marketing ecosystem is your website. However, little caveat to that, in today's world, your Google business profile is pretty much equal to your website. So we want to make sure that every available conversion option we can use is on that website. We want it to convert. We want people to know when they hit the page that what they're supposed to be doing there is contacting you. If they get to your page and what they decide is it's a great place to read and learn some more without contacting you, we've kind of missed the point. We want to convert that visitor into a lead or a prospect. So the question is your website set up to convert visitors to leads? This is US Home and Auto. It's actually their old website. I'm going to show you their new one here in a few minutes. But as soon as you hit the page, it's very clear what they want you to do. Fill out the form and click the button. Get a quote. That's the whole reason they want you on this page. Phone numbers up here. You can call them direct. So you basically have two options. Are you going to make the phone call, or are you going to fill out the form and move forward? Now, if you're a captive agent, obviously you don't get to change up the layout of the page. The thing we're going to trust is that your company has done a lot of research on what converts and that page is laid out to convert. But there are still some things that we can do to make that page more conversion friendly, even as a captive agent. But here's what I want you to understand is the impact that can have. So in this case study, 1,477 total leads. Their total spend on marketing was $2,490. That meant their cost per lead was $1.69. Now, out of that, 375 of those leads were organic calls. That means those were people that hit the website and then placed a call from the website. And they converted. Google Maps calls, 1,071. They hit the Google business profile, they place a call. And then finally, web forms, they got 31 of those. So those are all organic. The more organic conversion we get, the lower cost per lead is. So that's why we use paid ads for top end. We use paid ads to fill in places where we're struggling to rank well, or if we're breaking into new territory, or we're expanding beyond our local market. But we want to make sure the website converts because we want that organic traffic to convert. But here's the other thing. If we're paying for ads to come to a site or landing page, we don't want to be paying for those clicks if it's not converting well. So conversion optimization is super key. If you're a captive agent, here's the thing that you want to do is you just want to make sure you put some calls to action in those paragraphs and those places where you're allowed to put a little verbiage. That will certainly help. So here's the question we want to answer though. Does your website speak to your target audience? Does it address their fears, frustrations, and speak to why they should choose you? So in your biography, even if you're a captive agent, you can address some of those fears and concerns just in your own biography narrative. Because I have 25 years of experience in the insurance industry, I've seen customers at good economic times, bad economic times. I can help you find the best rates possible, regardless of what's going on in the market. That can be part of your bio, but it speaks to your target audience. Does it have authentic images of your team on the homepage or elsewhere throughout the website? That's key. Who am I doing business with? If you're allowed to use video or there are video elements on the website, that keeps people on the page longer. And it gives you a chance to explain why they should contact you versus someone else. Yeah, one of the things that I've seen several of you I know and know how you market. Some of you you're doing that really well. Paul Barrett, you do a great job of using the video, and it keeps people on the page. So it's a great tool to use. Does it showcase your online reviews? Can they see the social proof of how you operate, what kind of service you provide? Does your website make it easy to get in touch with you? Are the basics in order? Phone numbers there? Is there a form they can fill out? Or if there's credibility symbols like Better Business Bureau, are those on there? We want calls to action on the page anywhere that we're trying to get them to do something. We want to tell them what to do. If you've got the freedom on your site, you can even put in things like chat and SMS capabilities. That's going to drive your conversion rates higher as well, because now you're adding multiple modalities that a person can contact you with. So pull up your website real quick, take a quick look at it, and just at first glance, is there anything that you think you need to tweak to get it to convert better? And so just make a note of that if you see that. Now, here's the biggest issue facing insurance agents: unconverted leads. And this was something we talked about at the very beginning. Here's the real issue: 50 to 60% of inbound leads actually leave unconverted, or inbound traffic, excuse me. 90% of web forms actually fail to convert. So they fill out the information, but they never become your customer. And so here's the main reason for that: leads that are not followed up within 15 minutes go cold. The average customer needs to be followed up with 5 to 7 times before they become your client. And today's consumer actually prefers to interact via text message versus a phone call or email. So be thinking about your modalities. Several of you have teams. As soon as those leads come in, they need to jump on them. The agents we see that do best have a system in place for that. So one of the agents we work with does great with his paid traffic, closes at about 40%, but he has a 12-step process that he goes through in follow-up. And that's what his team goes through. And he shared with me before they implemented that, their closing ratio was about 9%. So just changing that procedure on the back end of lead flow improve their closing metrics from 9% to 40%. So again, the great thing about that is if you're improving your follow-up, that's less money you're having to spend for new leads, because you're doing a better job of managing the leads that come in. So here's the solution to that. Use marketing automation, if possible, to follow up with web forms in the first 2 minutes of submission by either phone, email, or text message. And then automate your follow-up so that every prospect gets at least 5 touches and is able to engage in some way via 2-way text messaging if possible. Now, if you're a captive agent, your compliance may not allow you to do that. But there are some automations you could still put in place. You could have an email go out, phone call of some sort. So there are some follow-up mechanisms you could put in place to expedite that process and stay with that lead while they're warm. And here's something I will say to that. This is critical too. Make sure your phone always gets answered. So we have campaigns where people are paying us to run traffic. They're spending money on ads. But when people call, they get the voicemail or no answer. That's a bad look. So if you're going to pay for traffic, make sure that phone's getting answered some way, somehow, even if you need to hire a virtual receptionist, just so there's a live voice on the other end. And here's the math to that. If you've got 100 leads, you're converting at 30% with no follow-up. That's 30 applications. So your average revenue for an approved application, $1,000, that's $30,000 of potential revenue. It's not bad. But if we could up the conversion rate to 70% by putting in automated follow-up, well, now out of those same 100 leads, we get 70 applications. And if our average revenue is $1,000, then now we've got 70,000 in income. We didn't have to bring in any more leads. We just simply improved our process on the back end. And so be thinking about your process. Some of you I know on the independent side, you're using like Go High Level or other automated CRMs. Those all have workflows that will handle this automation for you and make it much quicker. And so those are some things to be considering in the automation side. Here's what happens though, it makes every lead you generate much more valuable. And that's what we want. We want to get maximum value out of every lead that we're bringing in. So let's talk about implementing this in your business. What are 3 conversion elements that you need to implement? Maybe it's on your website. Maybe the phone number needs to be more prominent. Maybe you need a form to fill out. Maybe you need a messaging button. That might be a conversion element. Maybe the conversion element's on the back end. You need some sort of automated follow-up for new leads. Maybe you need a criteria of what happens when those leads come in. How are they followed up on? How do you get those 5 to 7 touches in on the backside? So go ahead and just make note of what those 3 elements need to be for you that you start working on going forward. And once you've got that, put a 1 in the chat so I know you're with me. And we'll move on here, and we're getting down into the home stretch. Give it about 30 more seconds here. All right, let's move on. Just make a note. What'd you learn? What did you notice? And if there's anything you'd like to share, throw that in the chat, and we'll talk about that momentarily. All right, here's the third piece. Know your KPIs and also track your KPIs. What are the key performance indicators? So I'm going to give you another example here. Here's a company that generated 513 leads. Their total investment on their marketing was $7,484.98. So that meant their average cost per lead was $14.59. Out of that lead flow, 121 of those were organic calls, 112 were pay-per-click calls, 258 were Google Maps calls, and then 22 web forms was their lead flow. Here's why these numbers are critical. If we know our cost per lead,
I got the caulking gun over there, so.
and we know how many leads it takes to convert to a customer, then all we need to do is figure out how many leads does it take to land that customer, and we can start to scale from there. So if we know that our average cost per acquisition is, $75, then we know where our lead cost needs to be, and we can just simply do the math equations to get us there. So part of this figuring out what your leads are costing you, what your conversion rates are, and then that'll help you scale. And that's really what this webinar is about. It's not just going through the motions. It's really to help you scale and grow the agency to the level that you want to get it to, using digital marketing as part of your toolbox. So what we've done so far, we've set a goal and a target for 2024. We've gotten some clarity around our market message and media, made sure our website is set up for conversion, and then set up a simple KPI tracking board. And so that tracking dashboard is really simple. How many leads did you generate? How much did you spend? That's your cost per lead. And then you can scale from there. Any questions on that? All right, perfect. Let's talk about trends. So key trends for 2024, AI, no-click search results, shift from phone conversion to message conversion, and then having this all-in perspective, SEO, PPC, LSA, social media. So let's talk first about AI, and I'm going to switch screens here for a minute. And we're going to talk two forms of AI because this is going to lead into this talk about no-click search results. So the AI most of us are familiar with right now is ChatGPT, and I did another training on that. That's on YouTube if you want to look at that more. Most of us should be somewhat familiar with this. If you haven't seen it, we can come in here and say, hey, write a Facebook ad for auto insurance. And I'm oversimplifying that, but it'll sit here and spit out an ad, emojis, hashtags, ad copy, all those kinds of things. So that's what most people are familiar with AI. What we need to get really familiar with AI is what's happening on the search engines. So if we go auto insurance, I'm in Wichita, Kansas. So that's where we'll pull this search. So it's going to pull up our normal sponsors, our maps, things like that. Let's find, I need to do a different search here. That one's not pulling it. Of course, I'm going to show this to you and it's not going to pull it. I have to modify this. If not, we'll go to another industry. Best car insurance. Yeah, we'll go to a different industry here. So I can show you how this works. Okay, so chose a different industry. This will hit insurance in our market before too long. It may already be in yours. So you pull your search result, and it's going to ask you, do you want an AI powered overview for this search? And so when you click that, it's going to generate an AI driven return for this search. Now, what I want you to see here is on the maps, the top three companies are Allstate's Improvement, Wichita Homeworks, and Heartland Home Improvements. Well, in the AI, Allstate's and Wichita Homeworks are up here. Heartland's down here, and it's naming other companies. And the way that the AI is determining what gets brought in here is by what's mentioned in the Google Business Profile and what's mentioned in customer reviews. Some say that they stay until the customer is satisfied. So one of the things we're teaching our clients to do is in your reviews, when somebody leaves you a review, ask them to talk about the services that they are using with you. John saved me a ton of money on my auto insurance. Paul helped me settle my auto insurance claim. We want them talking a little deeper because where Google's going is the AI is going to pull information from those reviews and from the information you've put in your Google Business Profile. And when we listed this second thing as no-click search results, where this is going is Google wants it to be to the place that I never have to leave Google to do business with you. I could simply come here. I could go to give you a call. I could request a quote. I could drive to your office. I can go to your website if I want to, but I don't have to. And so that's one of the things that we want to watch. The other thing we want to watch, let's back this up here, is you're going to see some of these listings that will say Google guaranteed. Now, right now, Google guaranteed does not extend to insurance agents, but it does extend to financial planners. So I think before too long, we'll see this happening with insurance agents. And what that is the agency would go through a vetting process with Google to get that Google guaranteed badge. And what Google is going to guarantee is that if you have a bad experience with that insurance agent, Google will pay some money to compensate you for that poor experience. So we're seeing that in a lot of other verticals. Contractors is one of those. That's why I pulled this up. It is with financial planners. And so I think eventually we'll see it come into insurance agents. But the AI is probably the more critical thing. And here's, again, what I want you to see is the AI is going to give me a lot of other options besides normal search rankings. And so what that's based on is the robustness of your Google business profile, but don't miss this. It's also taking into account your Facebook. It's taking into account your LinkedIn. It's taking into account your Instagram. It's taking into account all other social platforms as part of its decision making. So when it says some say they stay until the customer is satisfied, that could be coming from Facebook. That could be coming from the Google reviews. So you've got to pay attention to all these things. Google is taking every platform that you're on into account in this AI decision. And what they're trying to do is give the customer the best experience. So back to what makes you unique, what makes you different, what sets you apart, you've got to be thinking about this in your marketing because that's what the AI is going to pull in. So critical stuff for us going forward. Let's jump back into the final slides here. Whoops, wrong deal. Presentation. Here we go. So you've got to have an all-in perspective. Be thinking about your SEO, be thinking about local service ads, if those come into play, your PPC, your social media environment. Remember, people have moved more from phone calls to messages. So how are you going to incorporate that into your response and your interactions? And then when we look at the layout, what's starting to happen is we're starting to see this AI thing pop up either right above the ads or right below the maps. Those are the two places we're seeing it primarily. Things that the AI is pulling in, you'll notice here in these rankings. Friendly and reasonable prices, best place to get insurance, nice people when you go inside, very affordable rates. So the AI in Google's algorithm is actually drawing from actual user reviews the data to do the ranking on this local search. So again, it's going to be critical. Not only are you getting reviews, but that your customers are actually talking about what kind of business did they do with you. So the criteria that Google is looking at is experience, expertise, authority, and trust. That's what we've got to bring forward in your marketing. The other things we're seeing is Google is tracking. They're using a call tracking number to track incoming calls. So be aware of that. That's on your business profile. And then, of course, your layout currently is your Google Ads, Google Business Listings, and then traditional SEO. And now with the AI, what we're seeing is the AI either comes to the top or it comes here below the map listing. And so play with that in your area over the next few weeks. You'll probably see it show up before too long. And then with your Google Business Profile, remember it's a one-stop information source that allows a prospect to do research prior to making their buying decision. Google displays it in both map searches and traditional organic searches. It has call tracking capabilities. It has messaging capabilities. Here's the bottom line: the customer never leaves Google. So right now, 60% of search is zero click, meaning the customer never leaves Google. Google would like to push that higher and higher and higher because that's more profit for them. So you have to be thinking, what am I communicating, even in my business profile, that's going to prompt that person to call me? So that could be the amount of reviews, the types of reviews, the information you're giving. Do you have the questions and answers filled out for FAQ? Do you have a list of products? Are you posting pictures? Are you posting short form videos? All of those things are going to lead to that buying decision. And then here's the feedback we're seeing from active users that are using the Google local service ads and that are really using the optimized business profiles to drive their inbound traffic. It becomes a major organic lead source, tends to be higher quality lead flow than purchase leads, little lower than website generated leads, but not much. You do get some price shoppers. You've got to follow up quickly. And then solid return on investment for most clients who've embraced that piece of online real estate and use it well. So the next steps with your Google Business Profile, if you haven't already, you need to claim it, complete the location verification. They are getting more sticky about that. So if you work out of your house, you might want to print up some signs that you can hang on the side, have some business cards on the desk, some letterhead. It needs to look like a real office because they're going to do a video walkthrough with you. But it can be done from a house. A little tougher. You just got to get creative with it. Don't forget your Q&A section. Actively seek those reviews and then post photos and posts on a regular basis. And then number 4, build your 2024 plan. Figure out which components of the ecosystem make the most sense for you, for your budget, for what you're trying to accomplish. And you've got that graphic in your workbook. So a couple of quick case studies, and then we'll take some questions and wrap it up. Mike Hansen is up in Idaho. He's outside of Boise, Idaho. He allows us to utilize him as a guinea pig for stuff. And so he's been a 6-year State Farm agent, serving the greater Boise area. His total ad spend, and we took this, would have been a few months ago, $1,705.09 was his total ad spend. 172 leads. His average cost per lead was $9.91. From that, he generates on average 130 to 150 new applications every month. So he knows his metrics, knows his numbers. He can call me up any day and say, okay, I want to put a little more money towards the budget this month, or hey, my favorite one that he sent me in November, would you shut my ads off? You're so good at what you do, you're killing me, and my staff is not able to return all the phone calls. So we love those conversations. But he knows what his numbers are, so he's able to scale and he's able to pull back as he needs to. So that's a great case study for you. Your custom checklist can be downloaded here. We also put it in your workbook. So you've already got it. It'll just let you go down the list to see if you've got everything checked off that you need to have in place. And then you've got the ecosystem diagram as well. So that's also in your workbook. And then go ahead and write down your top 3 action items. I should have changed that to 2024 that you need to implement to hit your goal this next year. Write down those 3. And then while you're writing those down, let's open that up to any questions anybody has. We'll do a little Q&A here before we shut down. All right, top 3 things you need to do marketing wise to hit your goals this next year. And then any questions? Going once, going twice? Third time we're sold. All right. Takeaways. Write down, what did you learn? What did you notice? What would you like to share? And here's what we've covered today. Setting your goals for 2024, how many leads to hit your targets. You can use the spreadsheet to refine that. 3 fundamentals of marketing success. Who's your market? What are you saying to them? What modalities are going to use to get in front of them? How to optimize your website for conversion. The big picture of all the marketing channels that you can be tapping into to maximize your lead flow. Trends you need to be aware of. AI by far biggest trend you need to be aware of. Second to that is no-click search results. And then developing your custom action plan. You've got all this information in your download. And then if you'd like to do a strategy session, give us a call. We'd be happy to do that. As I always say on these webinars, you can do all this yourself. Obviously, we'll give you the information for that. Or you can pay us to do it for you. So you always have that option. That's what our team does. And with that, we're finished. I appreciate you taking 70 minutes out, and hope this was helpful to you. If you got any questions, just fire them off and I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, we'll shut down and call it a day. All right. Well, we'll shut down and call it a day. Hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, great New Year, and feel free to reach out to me if there's anything we can do for you.